Welcome and thank you for watching. This video is part of the SAKAI Learning Management System series. In this video, I will show you how to make your SAKAI site beautiful and easy to navigate and organized and awesome. In this video, I will do a brief walkthrough of how to beautify the lesson pages in your SAKAI site. I will demonstrate some considerations related to the design of your lesson pages, effective use of color, and checklists. I will also show you how to create a template for easy duplication within your site. Let's start with a brief overview of some sample Sakai pages so you can get a general sense of what can be achieved. So we have one example here. You can see we have different sections that are all color-coded and checklists that match the color of each section. This one is very similar to the first. Has a few more sections. And we have this one. This one looks a little different as well, and this one makes use of subfolders, as you can see here in the sections. This last one is a little bit different. So it starts off with this main page, and then each week has its own folder within here. So if you're using this type of template, then you really just have one page here for your weekly lessons, and then they're all housed here. You can see there's also an option to put in your schedule with all of your due dates and activities. This one also makes use of subfolders within. So for each section, you click on the subfolder, and then it takes you one level deeper with more information as needed. Let's start with the overall design of your lesson pages. You want to make sure that each week has a very specific structure that's really easy to follow and predictable. This will make it very easy for your students or teacher candidates, as the case may be, to navigate your site. So here's an example here where each week starts off with an introduction, then you move into background activities, then move to learning activities, and finally have a wrap up and then an extension. So this format will be seen through every single week, and it's really important to have that consistency and that predictability, and it will make your learners be able to navigate your site much more easily. So let's take a look at how to build that using a blank page. So you'll see here when you have a lessons page, it starts off completely blank, and you're going to want to add your content. And you can do that by adding text as your header. So we'll start here with our introduction section. So you can see I now have this piece of text here. And now I'm going to move in and now build the next section, which is the background section. So you can see here I'm starting to build each of my sections. Right now I'm not worrying about adding any color or any of those other design elements. I just want to make sure that I get all of these pieces in. So I now have my introduction, building background, and learning activity sections. Now there are more sections I want to add, but for the purposes of this video, I'm just going to stop here. So I want to make each of these a different section, but as you can see right now, they're all within this one square. So what you're actually going to do is use the plus sign over here, and whenever you use this plus sign, it always adds the element above wherever you see it. So if you want to put something in between introduction and building background, then you go to building background, because whatever you add goes above it. Now what I'm actually going to do is add a section break. So you'll see here now it's separated out into a different section, and then I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing here. So now I have 3 separate sections. My sections now outlined. And perhaps I want to add subfolders. So this is really a judgment call, and it really depends on your course, but you don't want these pages to be too long. You don't want to have too much information on them. So if you feel like you might be putting too much information and there's quite a lot of scrolling that's going to happen, you might want to add subfolders. So I'll show you how to do that. Within each of your sections, to add a subfolder, so you're going to click on this plus sign, and again, this will add the element directly above where you have the plus sign. So I don't want my subfolder to be above the heading, I want it to be below. So that's why I'm using this plus here. And then you simply find add subpage, go ahead and click that, and then you can give it a title. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and then hit create. So now this is my subfolder. So you can see here that it starts fresh. And when I go back to that template page, you'll see now I have my heading and then I have my subfolder here. Next, let's see how you can add color to your site, to the Sakai site, so that each section has its own color, and it makes it a little bit more engaging for your learners. In addition to that, if you stick with the same color-coded scheme, this will help people navigate your site. For example, if the introduction is always the same color, the background is always the same color, it just helps us kind of sort that information as we're navigating. So let's take a look at how to do that. First, let's decide on how we want to color code the sections. So you'll notice that with each section, you have this icon up at the top and it says column properties. So you'll see each section has its own. When you click on it, you have a variety of options. One of them is column color scheme. So if you click that, you get a few different options. Now, unfortunately, you don't have a full spectrum of color to choose from, but you do have some options. So if you choose a color and then hit save, you'll see now that section is in that color. So I'm going to go ahead and assign each section a color. And I would want to keep this same setup for all of my pages. So you can see now that each of these sections is now color coded, but I want to take it one step further and I want to change the text a bit so that way it matches the color scheme. So the first thing I want to do is I actually do want to increase the size a little bit just because it is a heading and they are a bit small. It's always easier to read things when they're a little bit bigger. So you'll see here I've now increased the font size to 18, and you have 2 options for color here. You can change the color of the text itself. So since this is the green section, I can go ahead and make the text green, but you can also highlight it as well using this here. I like to go to more colors because you get more options. I'll choose a nice green, and then you hit save, and now you can see I have that kind of color here in this section. So I'm going to go through and color code all of this section now, and I finished color coding all of my sections. So this is how it would appear to your students. So you'll see I have added this piece at the top to let you know what week it is, and you can include the topic here. So this would be done for each week. And then you have each section is now color-coded and ready to add your content. The use of checklists is very beneficial to your students or teacher candidates. Checklists are a great tool to use for your learners to help them keep track of what needs to be done. And this is something that is very difficult, or can be very difficult, for people who are taking online classes, is keeping track of all of the little tasks that they have to do. Because yes, there are major assignments, and that's easy to look at a calendar and see what due dates have to be there, but all of the little tasks and activities that you're having them do across the week can be difficult. So using checklists is absolutely vital to keeping them organized and also organizing yourself as well. So let's take a look at how to add those. I would recommend adding them at the bottom of each section rather than having kind of one massive checklist at the bottom. That way, as they work through each of these sections, they have their own checklists. So you hit the plus at the bottom. Again, that adds the element above, and you're going to find the one that says Add Checklist. Once you click on that, you have to give it a title. So this is in my intro section, so I'm going to hit intro. Now you can actually hide the checklist name from your students if you wish, or you can leave it here. You can give a description if you'd like. I tend to not give a description just to keep it as clean as possible. And then you can add your checklist items here. So maybe they're going to watch an intro video and then maybe complete a warm-up activity. So you'll see now it's added this checklist here, and the great thing about the checklist is it automatically color codes to match the section. So I didn't have to do anything special to make this green, it just became green because it's in this green section. I'm going to go in and add one here, just so you can see how this works, and you'll see that this one is going to be blue. Just putting something random there, just so you can get an idea of what it looks like. You'll see now this one here is blue. Now because I hid the title, so you'll see it's in parentheses or brackets, but when I go into my student mode, you'll see then it doesn't appear there. So this way they complete the activity. So above here is where you would insert all of the links and content and whatever they need for this particular section, and then as they go through they can mark it off. Now you'll see that it says save successful when I clicked on that, which means it's automatically saved. So if they leave Sakai and come back, that check mark will stay, and this will really help to keep them organized so they know that they're completing everything that's required. What I tend to do is everything I want them to do has a checklist item. And if I do not put a checklist item in, but I want them to do it, and I somehow forget, then if some people don't do it, I don't hold it against them because that's my fault for not including it into the checklist. So that's just a way to help me keep them organized, but then it also holds me accountable so I don't have unrealistic expectations about what I want them to complete. It should be very, very clear in terms of what they're going to complete, and they should be able to see that at a glance. So I will go through and I will actually add a checklist for each section. And as you can see here in the sample pages, each section has its own checklist which matches the color of the section. If you have a section that doesn't have a color, so if you have a section where the background is just white like this up here, then the checklist color is blue. You cannot change the checklist color yourself. It just matches whatever the color is of that section. But that's how you get them to be a specific color. Lastly, let's see how we can use templates for easy duplication across your site. So you'll see here I've now finished this page. Each section has its own checklist. It's ready for me to add content. Everything is color coded the way I like it, and everything is set up the way I want it. So you might be thinking at this point, Wow, this is a lot, and this is going to take me a long time to set up every single weekly page and color code it and get it all set up, the proper way. But there's actually a shortcut that you can do by creating a template that will make it so much easier, and that's what I've done here. So the reason I didn't add any content is because this page is going to serve as my template. So you'll see I have filler statements here like insert checklist item here. The wrap up, I have complete end of week check-in because that's going to be the same for every single week. So you want to set up your template page however it's going to work for you with everything that you need to be on all of your weekly pages. So right now, this is exactly how my template page is going to be. If you have these subfolders, it's not going to actually work properly. So what you will need to do is on your template, not actually include a subpage folder. So you just want it to be fresh. And if you do want a subpage folder, you'll need to make a separate template for that. So that way you'll have multiple templates. You can see here I have, for example, template A and template B, which template A would be my subpage folder for building background, and template B will be my subpage folder for the learning activities section. Because when you go to copy it as a template, each thing has to be separate. And I'm going to show you how to copy that now. So I have a fresh lesson page. So it seems like it's a hidden feature, and you actually go to reorder to pull in your template, and then you click add items from another page. From here, you'll actually have this full list of all of the different pages that you have on your site. And I'm going to use this one that says blank template page because that's where I created my template. So see I have that here. And you got to go all the way down to the bottom and then use selected item. Now you'll see this is a preview and it has all of my sections. You go ahead and hit save. And now on this new lesson page, you can see I have everything that I had on the template page, which makes it a whole lot easier to perfect your template first, and then you can duplicate that template for all of your lesson pages. Now, I had mentioned earlier you can't have the subfolders on your template, so I'm going to show you how to actually do the same thing with a subfolder. So once you have this ready, and now let's say I want to have a subfolder for learning activities. So again, you're going to go ahead and add subpage. You can name it whatever you like. You now have your blank page. So again, you go to reorder, add items from another page, and then you're going to find your template for that particular page. I'm going to pull in this template. So you can see I have it now all here. I hit save. And here are the subfolder for my for the learning activities, and you can see right here the content has been added in. Now you can actually go in at this point and you can edit. So for example, I have a link here to an activity that I don't want because we're not going to do this every week. So I can just go in, I can delete it, and I can just add whatever activity that I want to have this week right here. So then this would be my subfolder, and then I would go back to my lessons page. So each page that you want to have that consistent format with, you're going to want to make a separate template page for, and then it's really just a matter of importing it in, and then you have it. And that's the much easier way than having to go in and build it from scratch every single time. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more videos.